All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. I've seen already 4 people have joined. Welcome to the U10 show. This is a platform, if you are new, if this is your first time, this is a platform where we empower our communities through information sharing, advocacy, and narrative that shape our worldview. So, before we dive into the conversation of today, I just want us to honor Black History Month. February is a Black History Month, and we at the U-Turn recognize the countless contribution that Black leaders have done throughout the history. We recognize their resilience, their creativity, and determination that continue to influence and inspire all of us today. So join us in celebrating this Black History Month, Black excellence, and reflect on the legacy that they have built to pave the way for progress and empowerment, like the work that you can carry out. So thank you, happy Black History Month. Today we are joined by one of Black leaders, Maurice Hicks from United States, Baltimore. So I would give this opportunity for Rebecca Deng to introduce Maurice to the youth, and many of you might not have seen him around. So this is the first time that he is with us, and we're honored to have him. So thank you. And Rebecca, please introduce Maurice before we go into the conversation for today.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, the U Turn, for hosting Maurice. Maurice Hicks is a lot of things. I met him during the Black Congressional Caucus in DC last year, and he is a really a community man. That's what I would say. He took time to walk across from we were the station has authors, opposite from each other, and he took time to come to my table and then bought my book, and then from there we start be friends. And he have been a great person personally to me, just like mentoring me on like books related issues and what to do and what to read and all of that. But his career is more. You have seen that he was a police officer, and he was in the Marine. He doesn't talk a lot about it. He did a lot of things. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I just know that today you have a wisdom in the house, and somebody that have a worldview too, not just only here in United States, but have a broader global worldview for what is just and right. So Maurice Hicks is a friend of mine, a fellow book author, and a community man to the global community. So I will let him talk more on things that he have done. But all I can say is that this man is a walking library. He knows a lot of things. He have done a lot of work, but he is very humble. He doesn't talk much about it. So welcome, Maurice.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Great introduction. Yes, I was born and raised in Baltimore, pretty much in a violent neighborhood. I was an introvert who tried to avoid trouble. And I was often perplexed about the condition we were living in. And I always wondered why the police, wouldn't enforce the laws and things like that. I wondered where the supervisors were. So I was really disturbed by this, and something. And my goal was to become a executive of Fortune 500 company. I had no interest in police work whatsoever. And something happened when I was 11 years old that changed the trajectory of my life. And my mother married a gentleman who became my stepfather. And he would put me down a lot, told me I would never amount to anything. And after this took its toll on me, I ran away from home and I ended up at my grandparents' house, which came with a lot of risk because my grandparents lived across from what we call a shooting gallery, a place where people shot up heroin and sold drugs. So, it was a really terrible neighborhood. And one particular day really changed my life. And these individuals who were shooting up heroin and selling heroin all night, they burglarized my mentor's home 2 doors down from me. And I was, like I said, I was about 11 years old. And on the way back from burglarizing her house and putting stuff in the garage, the one of the young men motioned me not to say anything like this. And he lifted his shirt up and showed me a gun. So, I was horrified. And a few hours later, my mentor came home and she asked me a very simple question. I live right behind the garage where they were selling drugs. Did you see anything? And I hesitated and I told her no. And I told her no because I was afraid and I was terrified at what happened to me or my family. So this troubled me for years. So fast forward 10 years later, my cousin expressed an interest in joining the police department in Baltimore. And I just went with him just to, accompany him. And while I was there, the recruiter said, I'm glad you want to become a police officer. And I said, I'm not interested, sir. He said, well, son, while you're here, I want you to take this test. So I took the test and I became a police officer. So a few months later, I tell my sergeant I want to become a detective. And he responds by putting me on foot patrol in the projects. So one day I'm walking foot patrol in the projects and I run across this lady and she got her head down. She looks distressed. So I asked what was wrong. She told me someone burglarized her home. So I'm a rookie. I don't know much about, being an investigator, but I said, well, let me take I said, who's investigating your case? And she says, nobody. I didn't call the police. And I said, why not? She said, because you all don't care about us. So I went to her home and there was nothing in the house. I mean, no food in the refrigerator. I mean, they had stolen all the furniture, refrigerator ornaments, her Bible, her coat, her children's toys, the clothes off the clothing line, her laundry detergent. So I did an investigation, of course, a preliminary investigation, knocked on doors. No one saw anything. At least they said, like me. So I went across the street and I looked into a house and I saw her belongings. So I found out who owned the home, who was living there, brought it back, got a consent to search, recovered most of her items, developed an informant who told me what the rest of her items were. This was a game changer for the community. They got the word got out there was a rookie police officer that cared about the community, and people in the community started coming to me with their unsolved cases, and I would solve them for them. So I'll end up doing a 20-year career in law enforcement. I retired as a lieutenant. So that's how I got my start in law enforcement.
Wow. What a story. Thank you for sharing the beginning. So if you just joined the conversation to our audience, we are talking with Lieutenant, former senior detective, police detective, and he's sharing his journey and tips on how, he navigated the system and is now giving you some tip on how you can do it if you ever, come face to face with law department. So thank you so much for that great introduction and beginning. My follow-up question now is more into after that, now you joined the department, can you share a bit about your experience? What were the most important things that you kept in mind, while working? What are some of the challenges you encountered doing the work? And now looking back, you are out of the department. What are some of the hindsight that you would have, done better? It's a loaded, different, multifaceted question.
Well, one of the things that I learned is that there was a big distrust with the police, which is the reason my sergeant put me on foot patrol. And he told me, he said, if you want to become a detective, you have to learn how to gain trust with the community. So after walking around for 6 months, I knew everybody in the community and I was able to solve all kinds of crimes. But there was a lot of challenges because I joined in 1983. African Americans weren't really truly accepted during that time. There was a lot of animosity with young African Americans, particularly with college coming on the police department. So I had to fight a battle on the streets and had to fight a battle within, internal struggles for people who didn't want to see you become a detective, didn't want to see you make rank, were often jealous when you made better cases than they did. So it was very stressful. and I was profiled many times off duty, sometimes on duty by my own police department and other police departments. So it was very stressful. And as an African American police officer, you're really in a dilemma because there's so much distrust with the police, and you're trying to establish rapport with people in the African American community to show them, hey, like I told the lady who had a home burglarized, she said, you don't care about us. And I asked her to look at me and say, hey, I care. And when you out there on foot patrol and you look at people in the eyes and tell them that you care, it makes a big difference. And, police are the most accessible form of government. When you have a problem, you don't call your senator, not going to show up at your house. It's going to be the police. So we play a very important role. We can make a tremendous difference as long as we have our put community first.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, police are the frontline people. Before I can give the mic to Rebecca or Alaki to ask the next question, what I've heard or what I'm hearing is that, being a police, being a black police, you are dealing with so many people. You are dealing with trust issues within your community who think that maybe you are sellout because maybe this system is oppressing them or has been oppressing them for years, and now becoming part of the system and seeing you. They don't see you as a brother or as a father. They see you as a system, and also the system also is distrusting you. They see you maybe as as someone who is representing some certain interest, and that is why it's profiling you. This is really important information for young people that might want to join the department or that want to join the police, and also important to our community to see some of dear fellows, representing their interests and start to build trust so that we can work together to find solution to some of these problems. So that is really enlightening, and it's opened my eyes. I never thought about it that way. Rebecca, maybe you can take the follow-up question.
Yeah, thank you. So, Maurice, I would like you to elaborate more on like if young people, because most of the time, like Akwal just mentioned, people are afraid to join it because how they will be viewed, or it's even hard to get in the first place to be a police officer. Can you elaborate more, like what are the qualification or what are the things you can do if you are looking into that career? Because as I think of restorative justice or community policing, that will not happen if we don't have people from that community in that profession. So can you elaborate more on if people want to join, how they can be prepared or what kind of mentorship they should be looking into? Thank you.
Yes. Most police agencies have what's called a police explorer program that are bringing young people and have them work in the police department in various capacities, work in communications, work in records, and things like that. And they have an opportunity to work in different departments, different sections in the police department, and get familiar with the police culture and things like that. So that's one way. As far as preparing yourself for the profession itself, most police academies in Maryland are 6 months, and there's physical training. They put you under a lot of, I guess, artificial stress, conducting stops, takedowns, and in homes and things like that. So you need to be mentally and physically, sound. So, but I think we also offer ride-along programs where you can ride along with an officer. In fact, the agency I work with, I retired from Prince George's County. They require anyone who's interested in becoming a law enforcement officer, they have to go on the ride along to see what it's really like. I think education helps in preparing, and report writing is a big part of what we do. So you have to have good writing skills, physically fit. Some of the things that you want to make sure is that you have a clean driving record. In Maryland, you can't have over 3 points on your license. You have to have decent credit, so you have to make sure your finances are in order. Yeah, so military and college definitely help because right now we have a lot of people that join that have college degrees. So education and military experience, that's what gave me an edge when I came to the police department in '83. I was very sought after because that's what they wanted. And I had a cousin who wanted to join, and he didn't have either one of them. I said it's going to be very difficult because it's competitive. And military people are used to discipline. They're used to training. They're used to, you know, yeah, they're used to dealing with stress. So those are kind of things you can do to get an edge in law enforcement.
Thank you, Maurice. I know you joined after you were in a Marine for a while and then joined the police academy. And what he just said, having a clean record, being a sound minded, not drinking or anything. I have seen Maureen in a lot of events, he doesn't drink. So just being focused and being alert all the time, that is very helpful.
Yes, and you undergo a background investigation, so they're going to be asking beyond being arrested and your traffic rate, they're going to be asking about your character. So you want to be of good character. You have your neighbors, your teachers in high school, your teachers in college. You want them to be able to speak highly of you because they're going to let you look at your whole life and your character. So you want to be of good character and make a good impression on the people that you come in contact with.
Can I go next? Yeah, this is a great conversation. Thank you so much, Maurice, for sharing your story. It's truly inspiring. You found your calling and you really went for it and helped the community. If you're watching and you don't know Maurice, please read the description. You'll find his book is out and you can learn about the story and the learnings and the challenges that he's written about. I want to bring it back to a practical day to day. During COVID, I there was a lot of that's when George Floyd died, and there was a lot of media focused on Black people issues, and even though like sometime when people interact with the police or law enforcement every day, they're not acting from rational point of view. They're coming with preconceived notion about what's gonna happen. So there was this a lot of graphic imaging in the media. I personally didn't have an interaction with like a police in Canada yet, but even just a campus security used to give me a lot of anxiety encountering them. So, what would you say to anyone who's you know interacting with the law enforcement or a police? They're going about their day. Maybe they're stopped. Well, they're driving. They're having a get together with friends, and it's too loud. And maybe somebody called the police to come and talk to them. What do you think would be the best way to approach these kinds of interaction to there's no a lot of trust need to be built, but usually it's a short time interaction, so you don't have enough time to say, okay, let's talk about it. There has to be an intervention in the end. So please elaborate on that.
So keep in mind that most people come into this profession because they want to help people.
Yeah.
Now, they may, experience some things along the way, because of being attacked or assaulted, but genuinely, people in this profession want to help people. So I would say any interaction with a police officer, I would say it like this: begin with the end in mind. So think about how you would want to be treated. Like any other relationship, you want to start with establishing rapport. You know, saves a loud party complaint. Getting the officer, how can we help you? I think most people get off to a wrong start because they're automatically hostile. They start accusing police officers of being racist or harassing them, and that's just not that's just not the way to go. So you want to establish rapport. Remember, that's a human being there, and for most of us, as a patrol sergeant, I can tell you, the most important thing I wanted to do with my patrol officers is to keep them in service. So the goal is to get in and get out quick. Yeah. So keep your officers in service. So understand the officers don't want to go through a lot of stuff. They want to get there, try to resolve the issue, and go on to the next call because there may be a robbery in progress or assault. So they really don't. They want to resolve it as peacefully as possible. So status report officer, you know, talk to them, you know, show that you genuinely want to help them resolve the problem, because that's what they want to do. They want to resolve the problem and leave. They don't want to have to make arrests, for something minor. So begin with the end in mind, treat them with respect, and cooperate. And try to de-escalate. Even if an officer is hyped up, maybe think they may just come from a murder scene. You don't know what they just came from. You don't know what their frame of mind is. Their partner might have been shot. They could have personal issues. So they're human too, and if you're in a situation where you feel like, the officer is harassing you or whatever, just don't give into it. Try to de-escalate. And how do you de-escalate? You can de-escalate by having great listening skills, okay? By your words, by your tone, and by your body language. So police officers are looking for stress, and when they're assessing violence, they're looking for threat indicators, and those are the things they're looking for. So if you're not threatening, you're not loud, you seem rational, most officers are going to try to get out of, resolve it, and move on. But remember, de-escalate. Why? Because this can leave you emotionally scarred. If you escalate, they're going to try, maybe they're going to try to charge you something they wouldn't ordinarily charge you with. It result in you being injured, or in the worst case, being, even being killed. Things can escalate really quickly. If you've ever watched any of these YouTube videos, things happen fast. So it's a matter of your own personal survival. And also remember, this may be the same person that's racing to your house in an emergency, if someone's trying to break into your home. You know what I mean? Your child is driving. This is the same person becoming running to your rescue. And remember that, whether it be in a mass shooting situation, they'll be racing towards you while everyone else is racing away from you. So keep these things in mind when you have an interaction with a police officer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Akua.
Oh, that is wealth of information. Sorry, there is a question that I want to read to you from one of the participants in the chat. It's blocking people's eyes long, but I'll just read it out to you to answer, Mr. Maurice. You are educating us, and we are grateful. So Atian said that putting the community first from your own mouth is better said than done. It's better, said than done or implemented. So his question is, Mr. Hicks, what can our immigrant community do to support the youth and prevent them from, falling into jail system? It's a big thing here. Maybe I mentioned earlier when I was chatting with you before the show that a lot of immigrant communities, because of lack of understanding of system, they come here and their future of their community and end up in jail system. So this question is really important. Based on your experiences, dealing in situations that involve immigrant, what can we do?
I'm a firm believer of having mentoring programs. I'm involved in mentoring program right now in my church, and as we discussed earlier before we came on the show, is one of the greatest joys of my life. So a lot of us who have been through the struggle, we can impart wisdom, and it's all hands on deck. Really, it's if you're a religious person, your church community, if you have community activities, community association, but it's really all hands on deck. It's not just our own children. We can make a difference. I'm surprised, about, when I interview different people I arrested and I talk to them, and they tell me, no one really sat down and talked to me about that, and I'm surprised how receptive they are. So we have to kind of adopt, we have to kind of adopt people in the community, but mentoring is really important. So I would definitely encourage people in the community leaders, religious leaders, all hands on deck. Let's talk about what's going on, because it's frustrating and it's hard to navigate, through it. I experienced myself growing up in Baltimore with, very few role models around.
So, Hatian from the chat, that is the answer. It's all hands on deck for all the community members, young and old. We need to come together, community leaders, associations, churches, and everyone to help, young people navigate this situation through mentorship, through information sharing, like what we are doing on the U-Turn Talk Show. Nathaniel Atian actually is a pastor and has a church, the one that is asking these questions. So it's basically is supporting this group a lot
Mhm.
from his ministry and what it's doing to the community. And in further to his question, he was talking about, the system here is not so much like from his own experience, not restorative as it's supposed to be. It's punitive. So when police come, it ended up in jail. It doesn't, end up in in empowerment that it's
Mhm.
supposed to be. So that is his concern there, and it's one of the things from my own experiences living in Black communities here in Canada. I think it could be the same there in US. Uh, Black communities or neighborhood are overly policed. So that is part of what Atian is saying. There is so much, racial profiling, and where if you are looking for a problem, you will definitely find problem. So that's what he's trying. So if there's so many police looking for problems, then they're definitely gonna find problems. And so how do you, as a community, prepare, and how do you as the system that is there to help people, as you rightfully put it, that most police enter that profession because they want to help community, they want to help keep all of us safe. So how do we build that relationship that we don't see you that you're looking for problem, but we see you as you are looking for empowerment, for support, for safety, and all the things that we need to be comfortable in this model world. That is one part of the question. The second part of the question is, you know, maybe some people just joined the show. You mentioned also being profiled even in your profession. So maybe you can repeat that. Like, okay, if young folks may want to join the system to also help come and police their own communities so that they are seen as having best interests for the communities. How do you help them, navigate that racial profiling that has been in existence for years and it's not going anywhere?
Yes, it has. Well, I think it's strength in numbers, and you have to pressure your local politicians because police chiefs are appointed often. Sometimes they're sheriff elected, but they're appointed by the mayor or county executive or whatever. So the strength lies in the political and politics. Pressuring your elected leaders. And believe me, I've worked in an environment where if a politician says, y'all need to knock it off, and it's gonna get their attention. Yeah. So and I know, like I said, I've been racial profiled while an officer so many times I can hardly count, and I can kind of explain to you how I dealt with it and how I knew it was racial profiling. So I'm with my wife and my father-in-law and my two kids coming back from West Virginia into Maryland. I see a person in front of me who's doing about 100 miles an hour, white man, and a state trooper is on the side of the road, and I'm waiting for him to pull this guy over that's doing like 100. He looked at him, then he looked at me, and he started following me. And I'm doing the speed limit. He followed me for like 5 or 6 miles. As soon as he said he saw I was heading toward Washington, he pulled me over. So of course, like most young people, I was very frustrated. I'm with my family. I'm doing the speed limit. And I just watched somebody doing 100 miles an hour not get pulled over. I mean, what trooper doesn't pull somebody over doing 100 miles an hour? So he started asking me questions, and now because I was a narcotics detective at the time, I knew there were interdiction questions. He would ask me, "Where were you coming from? How long were you there? Why were you there?" So I looked at him and I said, "This is frustrating, sir." I said, "I knew I was doing the speed limit. You followed me. Would you please explain to me why'd you pull me over?" just like I said, same tone that I am now. Could you? And I said, look, I'm a detective, right? And I know I was involved. Could you please explain to me why you did this? And he, to my amazement, he admitted he was profiling. It just blew my mind. He said, I was kind of doing what you doing. And I said, I can't believe that you told the truth. I really wanted to make a complaint, but he told the truth. It blew my mind. So then I asked him, I said, what kind of profile is a man with his family in the car? And he told me the truth again. He said, my father-in-law was up front with me. His all I saw was two black men in the front seat. I didn't see a wife in the back. I didn't see children. And he apologized, which is very rare for a lot of officers don't apologize. But I get that story for a couple of reasons. One, also to show how I handle it. Now I could have flown off the handle. I'm an officer. I know my rights, but I talk more about how it made me feel. I said, this really hurts, and that's what made him apologize. But this is the kind of thing that we go through. And then now, Maryland State Police, they had to settle with the government because of lawsuits, but I do recommend that people complain, because then there's a record of it. Yeah, you really should complain, and preferably in written form, because believe me, if you call some people, you see them on YouTube, they ask to see a supervisor. The sergeant's so close to these officers, they run a call with them, they're not going to do anything most of the time. Write a complaint, and if you really want to get attention, write your local politician and let them refer it to the police department. But don't argue on the scene. Don't be aggressive. Don't tell them you're going to complain. Just, as the commercial said, just do it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maurice. That is wonderful. So, Maurice, my next question here, I know you have written a book called Looking for Trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have it, can you point it up so people can see it? And if you don't have it, that's okay. You
I don't
can.
think I ever close by.
Yeah. All right. We can share the link in the chat. But
Okay.
can you tell her the theme of the book? Just a little theme of that book. So if people are missing today, not hearing from you directly or not in this show, they can always get that book and read more about it.
Absolutely. Well, the name of the book is called Looking for Trouble. And the reason I came up with the title is for two reasons. First of all, I spent my entire life trying to avoid trouble. Okay. And as a rookie officer, I meet this aspiring drug kingpin who becomes a kingpin. And one thing he loves more than anything in the world, more than the beautiful women, more than money, is looking for trouble. He goes out every day looking for people in the community to devour. So this young man who was suspected of several shootings and murders in my patrol beat. So these young men who I've interacted with and tried to get them to stay away from drugs have fallen into his web and started selling drugs for him. And a lot of them are being shot and killed. And I go through this time where it kind of takes me back to growing up in Baltimore, where I saw this violence. I had people I went to school with, 11 and 13-year-old killed over drugs. And it kind of takes me back there. And I go on this mission to try to catch this gentleman. And of course, I'm a rookie patrol officer. So, I mean, I'm not a detective. And this is in Prince George's County, is my second police department. And after all these young men are, being killed, I would go from being a patrol officer to a major narcotics detective to homicide and then to the FBI. Trying to shut this organization down from selling drugs and killing people. So it's an amazing journey. I was, when I first got the case, there's a lot of discrimination in law enforcement, as we discussed earlier. So I would be the last person you would think I'd get a major case like this. But it just so happens that the homicide sergeant was on the scene of a homicide involving this kingpin. And when they asked a woman about him being involved in murder, she went into hysterics. And the sergeant said, "Oh my God, this guy's that bad." So homicide detective said, Yeah, we've trying to tell you this guy's been killing people for 10 years. So the chief of detectives calls the major narcotics commander and asks him, said, so, well, Lieutenant, tell me, we had this guy who's killing people and he's a big drug dealer. So tell me, Lieutenant, which one of your hot shots is investigating him? And Lieutenant said he was sweating bullets. And he went on the computer and he pulled his name up and it showed I had an active investigation. So Lieutenant calls me in his office and says, Maurice, when they found out I wanted to send somebody to homicide, all these non-narc blanks lined up to go. But you're the only one who had him under investigation. So that's how I got involved and sent to the FBI to investigate it.
Thank you, thanks. What a story! And I just put the link in the comment section. You guys can check it out. Those who are watching, Maurice is sharing his inspiration about the book that he wrote, "Looking for Trouble," and you can check it on Amazon. And there's also a link there for his own website that you can learn more about that tip. It's it's interesting. You know, yeah, I lost word. I lost word. How that is storyful. Yeah, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Rebecca, sorry, I took it away. Where to follow up on it.
No, that's really good. That's really good. One of my last follow-up question, and I'm gonna lock up here for the next event, is Maurice. Can you? I know that you have really worked so hard, and you were on a really high leadership. Can you explain a little bit more on what were some obstacles that you had to do personally and also systematically to reach where you were? Because you were one of the young black man that hold that kind of prestigious leadership, which I know you don't talk much about it, but explain more.
Yeah, so we have, in order to get promoted to sergeant, lieutenant, captain, you have to take a written test. You're given an evaluation. You have to go for it before an oral board where you have three people from a different police department. They evaluate you and your ability to handle situational questions, everything from handling a hostage situation to a diplomat to a mass shooting. So some people who didn't want to see me succeed, they had study groups and they systematically excluded me from the study groups because they didn't want to see me succeed. Some of them some people I actually to try to help too, and they hire consultants. They wouldn't share information with me. So they tried to do everything they could to prevent me. And then I died. The first time I took the sergeant's test, I died number one because I was uneducated at the time. My sergeant gave me a 96 evaluation, which basically sealed my fate. So other people, they make sure, this is kind of standard operating procedures. If you're African-American, they give you a low evaluation and that went into your final composite score. So if you can get 100, you pretty much was dead in the water. So I died number one on sergeant's test the first time I took it. And that was my wake up call. And so I said, I'm going to bury my head in the books. And, so, that wouldn't happen to me again. So I made sergeant, and then the lieutenant's test came around, and I said, well, who makes lieutenant the first time you take the test? And now you compete with every sergeant in the police department who've been on maybe 20 years. And I had an old African-American lady told me, she said, Maurice, I would just have to be the first. And I made lieutenant the first time I took the test. I ended up being number 4 on the list. So, but it took study discipline. I mean, I was raising 5 children. I was in school, but something I learned when I was a young kid. I think I told you at the beginning of the story of the show that my stepfather used to say I was stupid. I would never amount to anything. So that made me hunker down then. And I got skipped from the 5th to 7th grade because you would always find me in the library or my face buried in an encyclopedia. At school, they called me the professor, and I would go on to teach at 2 universities. So I think that was one of the reasons why they didn't want to share information with me, because I I was a I was a college boy. They always worry about me getting ahead of them. Yep. So study discipline. I didn't have the benefit of having other people in study groups. So I just had to hunker down. And like I say, that negative experience with my stepfather is what propelled me, because I was determined to show him and the world that I wasn't stupid.
Wow, wow, wow. How of negative criticism? Some people, like Katie, will go. I'm just amazed by that last part. When someone you know doesn't believe in you, and sometimes it's easy for people to internalize that and become a weakness instead of a strength, actually, to prove there is that power that no one can determine your fate. It's up to you. And sharing your experience, Maurice, is really empowering and eye-opening to some of us, or many of us, that sometimes you know, you know, you know, not only within our families, but even in the system, right? You are doing very well, maybe in your work, but you have a supervisor that sees you as uh, a qual with my first name, and think that I am not qualified because of the name I carry. And sometimes you could, it's easy for you to become a victim, right? To go into that victim mindset that you are not qualified. But having stories like you come up, and people reinforcing that it doesn't matter what other people tell you, it doesn't matter what your community tell you, it doesn't matter what injustice system tell you, you can always become the best you can, if you put in the work and believe in yourself. So that part is really empowering to me. I just wanted to add that comment. Thank you so much. Lucky, take it away.
No, I think you well summarized it. I'm moved by your story, Maurice. I wanted to roll it back a bit to the mentorship part. Um, as a Most of the things you've done as the first Black person to do it, and you've gone there. What is the role of mentorship? As in, when you're back, on your journey, how would you see mentorship playing a role in helping you reach your goals? How are you doing it now? Like, and then from the perspective of the youth, how would they seek out this mentorship opportunities? Because there's a lot of community organizing going on, but it's not what I don't think it's what they talk in their circles as young people. How am I going to get to my next step as in my growth journey? Who can help me get there? Um, what would you say to a young person watching today to really find people to help them get where they want to get to?
Well, I tell you, going back when I started with Baltimore, some African American patrol officers who didn't know me from Adam, they came up to me and said, "Hey, let me school you about some things. If you need anything, come to me." They just sought me out, and I was really impressed with that. Keep your nose clean, don't get in trouble, don't get caught up, in excessive force. So I took that same philosophy with me when I went to Prince George's County Police, where I did 18 years, and I mentored a lot of people. But it's important, you know, for these young people. If you identify somebody who you think, who you know has had success in your field, you should seek them out, and you'd be surprised how many people be willing to help. I've mentored people in the police department my whole career. When they were going out, when I was a detective lieutenant, patrol officers that I had, I would teach them how to interview. I would talk about the importance of writing skills and things like that. So, and the same thing that I do now, and when my mentoring program at church, and I teach the public safety portion of the the mentoring class, and the same things that we discussed in the show tonight. I talk to them about how to interact with the police. We talk about everything from hygiene, uh, study discipline, which I just discussed about study discipline, about having an attitude where every person you come in contact with is a person who could propel your life and career forward. So definitely encourage them to seek those mentors out. Um, some of the best people, if you look at some of the people who are successful in life, they had mentors. Jackie Chan, he had Bruce Lee was his mentor. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali was his mentor. So behind most great people, there's a great mentor, and that's something they should all keep in mind. And you know who it is? Seek them out. We teach our mentees, hey, you got to want it bad. You got, you got to want it bad. Yeah, and like with our mentors, I'm a mentor of two young men in the class, but we tell our mentees, all of us are a resource to you. So that's why, I definitely would recommend, like I said, they become, if they're a religious person like myself, who believe in God, seek out resources in your church and resources in your community, you know, uh, and let them, help assist you with identifying somebody will make a great mentor. But some men have to be asked. Everybody's busy, and they don't think about it. So you might, you may need to ask them. And then it'd be like me, was you found it was one of the greatest joy in your life to be a mentor. And I was a Sunday school teacher too, so there's another way I gave back in a previous church.
Thank you very much. I have no more questions.
My pleasure.
Yeah, no. You mentioned uh, people. You ask people to seek mentorship. So so if you are watching today or you're going to watch this video, I think my takeaway is that there are resources out there in your community, in your church, um, even online here. They are there. But if you're not actively looking for them, you won't be able to find them. So mentorship can't find you in your house or your smartphone. You have to click something there and text Maurice, oh, I need to get some information about how to pass this test if you are doing police tests. There are great also mentorship that are, passive mentorship, and those are stories. So Maurice wrote a book about his life and experiences and insights. So that one can be your self-help book. You may not need to talk with Maurice, but reading his book is one way of getting his insight into life, into some of the things he did. And so personally, I love reading, and I just got myself that book on Kindle. I will read it and get some insight that I might not, be able to get within the 45 U-turn session that we have here. So that is one way that we can learn. And if you are new to this show, you just join us. We were talking about what to do when you encounter law enforcement, and you can go and watch everything that has been said. But our great brother here, father, mentor, is sharing some of the things that he did himself to rise into a senior leadership in law enforcement in United States, Baltimore. And so his book is also there. So read about him in the description, and the book link is there if you want to get more insight of what he was just giving us some tips. So Maurice, to back to you for the last question. We're running out of time. We usually ask our guests to say the U-turn message. So the term U-turn, it's a change word. It's an empowerment word. What can we do to make a U-turn, like turn to the right direction? So our audience are usually young people, immigrants. There are people from all different backgrounds, and also as we the co-hosts here, we also need to hear a U-turn message. So if you were to summarize your thoughts in your final conclusion, what U-turn message or advice would you give to us today about your own experience in law enforcement and Black communities and immigrant communities, and what young people can do and women to safeguard and maintain safety in their in their communities. And Pastor Atian said thank you for answering this question earlier, Reverend.
Well, I'll repeat what I said earlier, and I'll say this is in life. Begin with the ending in mind, whether it be interaction with your teacher, your friend, your supervisor. Always look at every interaction with someone as an opportunity to propel your life forward and to learn. You know, always one thing I learned is to always be in learning mode. It doesn't matter, that I've had 20 years in law enforcement. I'm still learning. I'm a writer. I'm still learning. I'm seeking out information to be a better writer. So always seek self improvement, but begin with the ending in mind. In every relationship, you just don't know who is going to impact you. And I did background investigations for many years too, and people remember different things about you. It could be good or bad. One young man, he everybody I interviewed, teachers, counselors, friends, they remember one thing about him. He always had his pants hanging down. They remembered he was a good kid, but everybody remembered that. I thought that was amazing. Everybody, so I tell my mentees, keep that in mind. It's hard to make you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And I just want to also leave with this. One of my goals in writing the book was to inspire people, and I just won a 2024 International Impact Award Book Award for Looking for Trouble, and I'll be picking up the award next Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm very, very happy about that because I really want to inspire young people. It's in the inspiring. It's in the children's inspirational and inspiring book category.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's been a really good experience. I really appreciate you letting me share my experiences with the audience.
Thank you so much, Alakira. I saw I interrupted you. I just wanted to say my concluding remark. Thank you so much, Mr. Maurice. It's been an honor to have you on the U-Turn show today. And I think our audience, our community members are blessed to have share your wealth of experience, knowledge, and your book. You leave us with wisdom that all of us can always refer to when we are not in contact with you. That is a great legacy that you have shared and the impact you have made. And congratulations for winning that impact award. You should, it's overdue. It's overdue. So we really honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, I'm walking away with a lot of insights. I'm definitely getting the book. I'm going to read it for sure. And I feel so honored to have shared this space with you today. So keep doing the great work you're doing. It's making a difference.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Awesome. And to the audience, so next week, next show, next Saturday, we're having a conversation on microfinance for women empowerment. So it's more focused on women, focus women audience, but anyone can benefit because women are in our life, in all our mothers, sisters, aunties, and everyone. So looking forward to that conversation. Maurice, have a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you. We will be in touch.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.